10 horns. Revelation 17, Revelation 13, Daniel 7, 10-10 scenario, 10 successive kings, 10 contemporaneous kings, Roman power, fourth beast. This discussion for now ends the grasping hands across the gulf reaching and clasping hands of spiritualism. It's painfully obvious Laodicea had already clasped hands with spiritualism, with the Alpha and the Omega of deadly heresies in Fundamentals 2 and 4. And weighed in the balances of the sanctuary and found wanting, she is in terrible shape. Why? For all things are naked and opened unto the eyes of him with whom we have to do. And the man with the writer's inkhorn has moved to the court to seal those who are noted in 3T 267 and who are not a part of the Omega of deadly heresies and the unity of rampant spiritualism. This is related with the 10 kings who unite with the beast. This discussion of the 10 kings of Revelation 17 and 13 and Daniel 7 now comes into focus, and you will be wiser when you see explained what is, for many, a new concept, the 10-10 scenario of 10 kings. It's not new, it's been in the scriptures all along. The 10-10 scenario has its foundations from the era of Diocletian, then the transition age of 476 AD to the emergence of Justinian, and then the important historical fact with complete removal of the 3 horns equals Daniel 7 and 8, the 3 Ostrogoths kings in 554 AD. This discussion must include the 4th kingdom of the 4th beast, which was and is not and yet is, and to be discussed is the last Roman emperor. Yes, the 7th king of Revelation 17, and why God said he lasts a short space. You will then reflect how Zechariah 8:23 occupies a very distinct association to the 10 kings in the 10-10 scenario, and also to the transition from the scarlet beast to the first beast of Revelation 13, and why those 10 kings are crowned. The challenge. You'll be significantly challenged by Laodicea's complete failure with the prophetic details of Revelation 13 and the fatal wound of one of the first beast's heads and the emergence of the Luciferian age, the Golden Age. The challenge means a complete overhaul of the Millerite 1830s to 40s viewpoint and, quite frankly, holds no application today to Revelation 17, the 7 kings. 5 have fallen, one is, and the other is not yet come. And any of you who believe you can respond to the 10-king biblical challenge, 10-10 scenario, hey, contribute a response in the comments below. When it comes to the scriptures and Bible detail, many fade away, for their want is of the simple things, abetted by the lukewarmness and the traditions of the elders. Therefore, the 10-10 scenario challenge is not for you, and you can return to your slumber, which it is the case in Laodicea. So in order to understand this biblical 10-king, the 10-10 scenario from the Golden Age perspective and the Luciferian age, it requires a total overhaul of Laodicean prophetic beliefs, the insights of the 1830s and Millerism, interpretation of symbolisms is a complete failure of 1798 as a prophetic marker which served the National Sunday Law warnings of the 1890s. As explained in Part 1, the evolving of prophecy was updated by God and therefore can never resolve the 10 kings. When it comes to Revelation 13 and 17, and yes, the emphasis, a total overhaul. Take the failure of 1798 as challenge number 2. Why? When Zechariah 8:23 is fulfilled, equals 10-10 scenario. Laodicea will also witness Revelation 17:10 in the form of a final repudiation of their final National Sunday Law scenario of the Scarlet Woman. It means plainly that National Sunday Law is an impossibility. See Revelation 17:12-16. And why? Because the leader of that scenario, which will be a Scarlet Emperor, the 7th king, who will arrive on the scene just prior to the eighth king, marks the downfall of the Scarlet Woman. Her great city, as well as the last king of Revelation 17:10, equals Daniel 11:45. This will cause massive confusion in the ranks of Laodicea, the last Roman emperor. As mentioned in part 1 and 2 in this important discussion of grasping hands across the gulf of spiritualism, equals Isaiah 2:6, it's time to consider the last Roman emperor and to look once more the 1888 E.G. White quote. When Protestantism shall stretch her hand across the gulf to grasp the hand of the Roman power, when she shall reach over the abyss to clasp hands with spiritualism, when under the influence of this threefold union our country shall repudiate every principle of its constitution as a Protestant and Republican government, and shall make provision for the propagation of papal falsehoods and delusions, then we may know that the time has come for the marvelous working of Satan and that the end is near. If Laodicea would read this 1885 Sister White quote properly, it says Roman power and doesn't say Roman Catholic Church. And the papal falsehoods have been official in Laodicea since 1980 in Fundamentals 2, 4, and 5. The Roman power is the fourth beast of Daniel 7. And God stated it has three phases. That was, and being number 1. Number 2 is not, equals scarlet. And number 3, yet is. These three essential details must be never overlooked in any consideration of the end-time prophecy. Did God make it complicated? Perhaps, but the fact is the wrong end dates of the three uprooted horns by the little horn in Daniel 7:8 makes for the complete lack of discernment today. The that was phase during the Roman powers, that was phase, the fourth beast's history records that from the final 10 years of the Diocletian persecutions, the Roman Empire, being the beast, ceased to be a persecuting power against Christians when Emperor Constantine took over the empire in the West. The Diocletian persecutions, which took place within the context of the Roman Empire, began in 303 AD and ended in 313 AD by way of Constantine's Edict of Milan. So if persecution took place for 10 years against the remnant Smyrna church, as stated by Jesus, the true and faithful witness, and it did, then the beast that was would never be Roman Catholic Church because she was not in prophetic existence in 303 AD because that was the time frame of the beast that was, meaning the Roman power, and its final year of persecution ended in 313 AD. From that year onward, it became dormant, equals is not, and was transformed into the first social order of what later became the Catholic Church in Western Europe. Later, with the fall of the Roman Empire in the West in 476 AD, by way of the Roman Federati, the mercenary armies of native Romans, along with foreign tribes whose leader was Odoacer, resulted in the Roman Empire undergoing a transition age. In what? In terms of religion. The first Catholic social order. The first Catholic social order in the West was transformed by the Ostrogoths, who accepted the so-called Arian Christian teachings of the renegade scholar Arius of Alexandria. And in reality, Arianism was a form of Neoplatonism, being the flip side of the eternal Son and Trinity doctrine, then took over the empire in the West and presented a theological rival to the Catholic Trinity doctrine. The Eastern Roman Emperor later declared war on the Arians with Emperor Justinian I, defeating the last final three kings of the Arian Ostrogoths, whose names were Witiges, Totila, and Tia, and uprooting the Ostrogoths as a people from the face of Western Europe in 554 AD. This uprooting of the Ostrogoth kings in 554 was in total fulfillment of Daniel 7. And after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, terrible and powerful, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth, and it devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, a little one, before which 3 of the first horns were plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. So here we see that the Bible is presenting us all with specific information of 10 kings coming out of the Roman Empire successively, not in a contemporaneously as taught by Laodicea. It is only at the end of the age equals our time when the final contemporaneous union of 10 kings takes place as presented in Zechariah 23 and Revelation 17:12-16 and Revelation 13:1. So if we count the 10 kings, the start-off point has to be at the end of the transition age when the final 3 Ostrogoth kings were defeated and uprooted. Take note of the fact that the prophetic picture that is presented of the Roman Empire in the Bible does not include its downfall in 476 AD. The Roman Empire underwent a transition age from the fourth beast, then over to the 10 horns, or 10 successive kings. You will now be benefited with charts of the Roman Empire's 10 kings in their succession scenario, commencing from Daniel 7, and then their contemporaneous scenario that it is stated is to occur in Revelation 17 and complemented with Revelation 13. And you will no doubt see there exists in prophecy a slight change about the 10 kings. Why? Because in that transition to the yet is phase, they have royal status with 10 crowns. As you continue, charts that map the history of the 10 kings succession, notably the 3 uprooted Aryan Ostrogoth kings, and you will note the correct date of these 3 were finally uprooted. And then there are successive 7 kings, 5 of whom have fallen, and of course the soon-to-appear 7th, who lasts a short space of time. Bear in mind as you proceed, the Sister White quote, 1885 expression, Roman power becomes clearer. Once you see the 10-10 scenario, you can never unsee it. The Roman Empire, 10 kings, transition age, commencing with migration of Germanic tribes into Western Europe. Rome falls in 476 AD to the Federati. Eastern Rome defeats Ostrogoths in the West in 553 AD, the end of transition age. 10 successive kings, 7 heads. Here's your first 3. Witiges, Totilitea, uprooted, Daniel 7:8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Justinian, fallen. Revelation 17, the woman sits over Justinian. Charlemagne, number 2. Otto the Great, 3. Charles V, 4. Napoleon, number 5. The woman sits over all 5. Justinian, Charlemagne, Otto the Great, Charles V, Napoleon. Victor Emmanuel is the one is the 6th, where the woman sits over. Revelation 17:10. The last Holy Roman Emperor, 7th King. One yet to come, deadly wound. The woman sits. There's your 1260 days. Revelation 17:10 and 13:3. 10 contemporary kings. 8th king. Woman destroyed. Revelation 17, 16, 18. 10 crowned contemporary kings. Daniel 8, 23 and 25. Revelation 13:1 and Revelation 17:11. So it's at the end of this transition age we then see the downfall of the first three kings, and then comes the arrival of the second social order of the Catholic Church in the West. The second social order implies that the Roman Catholic Church will then ride the seven last kings of Revelation 17:10, or seven political rivals. Uprooted, woman sits over, of united Europe. And they, seven kings, the five are fallen, the one is, and the other is not yet come, and when he cometh, he must continue a little while. This historical pattern is a prophetic map of Europe as well as its relationship with the Roman Catholic Church in the West. This institution was known as the Holy Roman Empire. The first five began with Justinian I, and then Charlemagne, Otto the Great, Charles V, and finally Napoleon. The sixth head was the time frame of fascist Italy and Nazi Germany, with the puny figure, head emperor of Italy, King Victor Emmanuel, at the helm as a representative of the union of the Italian mind and the German mind, which, historically speaking, forms the core basis for this idealistic concept. The seventh king has not yet arrived yet, but a previous link from Wikipedia presents him as the great monarch of the Roman Catholic prophecies. Yet in reality, the great monarch will be the fulfillment of the latter portion of Revelation 17:10, just prior to the arrival of the eighth king of Revelation 17:11. That is the reason as to why Daniel 7 states the following. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all the kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, break it in pieces, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall arise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and he shall think to change the times and the law, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and half a time. But the judgment shall set, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. So in order to decipher this puzzle, we need to count the 10 kings, horns, in order to reveal what the Bible is telling us. 10 horn count. 1, horn, Wittiges. 2, horn, equals Totila. End of the transition age, Daniel 7:8. 3, horn, equals Tia. 5 kings of Revelation 17:10 have fallen, with number 4, horn, Justinian, first head. The woman rides in Revelation 17:10. 5, horn, Charlemagne, second head. The woman rides in Revelation 17:10. 6, horn, Otto the Great, third head. The woman rides in Revelation 17:10. 7, horn, Charles V, fourth head. The woman rides in Revelation 17:10. 8, horn, Napoleon Bonaparte, fifth head. The woman rides in Revelation 17:10. 9, horn, King Victor Emmanuel, Axis Powers, Hitler, Mussolini, sixth head. The woman rides in Revelation 17:10. 1 is 10 horn. Great monarch. The other is not yet come, and when he cometh, he must continue a little while. Seventh head. The woman rides in Revelation 17:10. Successive kings, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. First was Wittiges, being Arian, Totila, Tia. They are all uprooted. Daniel 7:8. There's the first 3. 7 heads, 7 mountains. First head, Justinian. Second head, Charlemagne. Third head, Otto the Great. Fourth head, Charles V. Fifth head, Napoleon. Those are your five who are fallen, Revelation 17:10. Sixth head, King Victor Emmanuel, Pact of Steel, and one is, Revelation 17:10. Seventh head, Grand Monarch, is not yet come. When he cometh, he must continue a short space. Era of the seven king ends. Revelation 17:12-16 and Daniel 11:40-45. 10 contemporaneous kings emerge. The diverse king equals Revelation 17:11. And the beast that was and is not is himself also an eighth, and is of the seven, and he goeth into perdition. Conclusion: the 10:10 scenario of Revelation 13:1 did not take place from 538 to 1798 as presented by Laodicea. The 10:10 scenario, when properly explained, translates as the following. When we reach the 10th successive king, starting from the end of the transition age, this marks the time frame of the end of the Christian era and marks the commencement of the Luciferian era, equals golden age of spiritualism with the law of one and its unparalleled in history. This event is after the seventh king is taken out of the way by the eighth king, who is of the seven. The fatal wound and Luciferian era. And he stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast coming up out of the sea, having 10 horns and 7 heads. And one of his horns, 10 diadems. And on his horns 10 diadems, and upon his heads names of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his throne and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as though it had been smitten unto death, and his death stroke was healed, and the whole earth wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, because he gave his authority unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast, and who is able to make war with him? And there was given to him a mouth speaking great things, and blasphemies, and there was given to him authority to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth for blasphemies against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, even them that dwell in the heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And there was given to him authority over every tribe and people and tongue and nation. And all that dwell on the earth shall worship him, every one whose name hath not been written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb that hath been slain. If any man hath an ear, let him hear. If any man is for captivity, into captivity he goeth. If any man shall kill with the sword must he be killed. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. None of the information from Revelation 13 has ever taken place. It did not take place with the fall of the Roman Empire in the West in 476 AD, and neither did they worship the dragon after 1798. This only takes place after the 10th successive king that issues forth from the Holy Roman Empire at the end of the next transition phase, up to the fatal wound which is administered to the 7th and final Scarlet King, known as the Great Monarch, who in reality will be the 10th successive king, whose domain will be hijacked by the 8th king. That is why the 8th king is of the 7 and goes to perdition, equals destruction. Reasons for fatal wound and the arrival of the 8th king. The reasons for the fatal wound are the following. They will use the great monarch to fight World War III against Islam. And after this war of Daniel 11:45 is finished, they will destroy the great monarch, equals fatal wound, as well as Papa Pointy Hat's great city. See Revelation 17:12-16, Revelation 18. This completes the portrait of the great monarch's role in Revelation 13:13's fatal wound scenario, as well as the scenario for the destruction of Vatican City. When the 10:10 scenario arrives, World War III is over. The great monarch receives a fatal wound and is taken out of the way. The other is not yet come, and when he, grand monarch, cometh, he must continue a short space, equals, and is taken away. The fatal wound is healed. The eighth king of Revelation 17:11 takes the helm of the European Union and expands it into 10 regions. The fourth beast expands globally and swallows up the whole earth. The beast of Revelation 13 reigns for 1260 literal days, and since this event marks the end of the age, Isaiah 2:2, the year-day principle cannot be utilized. The time frame for the reign of the beast will be 3.5 years, which also involves the events of the third temple, equals Isaiah 2, and this is in relation to Revelation 11. And the two witnesses, which have also 3.5 years of their witness, which culminates in their death at the hands of the beast, as well as their resurrection by the hand of God. Hands across the gulf against the two witnesses. Revelation 11, and their dead bodies lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also their Lord was crucified. And from among the peoples and tribes and tongues and nations do men look upon their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and suffer not their dead bodies to be laid in a tomb. And they that dwell in the earth rejoice over them, and make merry, and they shall send gifts one to another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. And after the 3 days and a half, the breath of life from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them that beheld them. And they heard a great voice from heaven, saying unto them, Come up hither. And they went up into heaven in the cloud, and their enemies beheld them. And in that hour there was a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and there were killed in the earthquake 7,000 persons. And the rest were affrighted, and gave glory to the God of heaven. Notice the resemblance to Isaiah 2, the word that Isaiah the son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of Yahweh's house shall be established on the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow into it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the God of Jacob. And he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths, for out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of the Yahweh from Jerusalem. And he will judge between the nations, and decide concerning many peoples, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. Nothing other than a golden age. No wars equals golden age peace, in place spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Spiritualism, right? Hands across the gulf into spiritualism. O house of Jacob, come ye, and let us walk in the light of Yahweh, for thou hast forsaken thy people, the house of Jacob, because they are filled with customs from the east, and soothsayers like the Philistines, and they strike hands with the children of foreigners. Striking hands with foreigners includes witchcraft and the extent of spiritualism. The eighth king of Daniel 8:24 confirms the craft. The Bible is informing us spiritualism will involve Jerusalem city, as well as customs and practices imported into cultural Judaism, in the form of the Magan concepts, which are an abomination and unbiblical. This is already seen in the mysticism of the Kabbalah book. In the Kabbalah, God is referred to as nothingness, as in a void, the Sephirot, 10 emanations. There is a big difference between what the Bible has to say about God and what the Kabbalah book says about God. In the Bible, God, or the plural Elohim, are anthropomorphic, from the time that the Elohim equals gods. State in Genesis 1:26 that man is to be created in their image and likeness. Here is where we see a disconnect between the Torah and the Kabbalah book. The greatest insult lays in the fact that the first emanation, or Keter, equals the crown, is seen by some as the God of the Old Testament in the form of emanation from the void of Ein Sof. And this sort of thinking is also found in Gnosticism. Also, the Kabbalah book, like Gnosticism, presents souls that have emanated from the void of Ein Sof. What the readers might not comprehend is that the concepts of the Kabbalah book are related to Neoplatonism, which is an older system of mystical belief, which go back to the time of Philo of Alexandria, who was a Neoplatonist. Tikkun Olam equals repairing the world is clearly in relation to the 10:10 scenario that thus far we have studied in the Golden Age, since it's the future time frame of Zechariah 23, where the 10 men grabbing the skirt of a Jew saying, Lead us, for we know that God is with you. It's another concept that resides deep within the mindset Judaism in the form of global reparation equals Tychum Olam, which will lead to the events in Revelation 13. Fact is that Isaiah 2 presents the same information regarding men hiding in caves and rocks and mountains. In Revelation 6, and the heavens was removed as a scroll when it is rolled up, and the mountains and the islands were moved out of their places, and the kings of the earth, and the princes, and the chief captains, and the rich, and the strong, and every bondman and freeman hid themselves in the caves and in the rocks of the mountains. And they say to the mountains and to the rocks, Fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath is come, and who is able to stand? Isaiah 2. And men shall go into the caves of the rocks and into the holes of the earth, from before the terror of Yahweh and from the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake mightily the earth. In that day men shall cast away their idols of silver and their idols of gold, which have been made for them to worship, to the moles and to the bats, to go into the caverns of the rocks, into the clefts of the ragged rocks, from before the terror of Yahweh, and from the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake mightily the earth. Cease ye from man whose breath is in his nostrils, for wherein is he to be accounted of? Conclusion: one can see by a reading of Isaiah 2 that idolatry and witchcraft will be present in the latter day on account of hands across the gulf, in which strict so-called monotheism will be enforced along with the spiritual manifestations of demons, declaring the law of one as it relates to a false interpretation of Deuteronomy 6:4, which results in the mark of the beast as presented in Deuteronomy 6:8. So the question stands, which word will you choose? Akkad or Yakid? One, and this is the main issue of the matter. If you accept Akkad, then you will bow to and follow the duality of the New Testament, Shema, as in John 1:1. If you accept the false interpretation based on Yakid, a singular individual in the Godhead, into the Luciferian law of one as impersonates the Shema of Deuteronomy 6:4, and just like verse 8 states that knowledge will be placed on your forehead and right hand, just as stated in Revelation 13. So how important is the first angel's warning to worship he who made, and recognizing he was not God the Eternal Son, nor part of a Trinitarian construct, but was also God in John 1:1? Well, here it is. Will you, yes you, will you be extending your hand across the gulf to clasp hands with spiritualism? If you still are unable to recognize the Alpha and Omega of deadly heresies, fundamental beliefs 2 and 4 is spiritualism, here's the thing. There is no sitting on the fence, and let's wait and see from herein. Sister White said you will be in peril. The seal of God is now, and its essential requisites of Revelation 7 equals Revelation 14, 1-5, occurs prior to World War III, and then there is trumpet number 5. It's a serious problem, the mega of deadly heresies. No seal of God with spiritualism, period. It's an abomination of desolation. What is your decision to be? Is Jesus to be believed in Matthew 7, 13-14? Laodicea's viewpoint of Revelation 13. Laodicea has believed that the second beast of Revelation 13, the two-horned lamb-like beast that arises from the land, will be America. In reality, it's America, but not the scenario 538 AD plus 1260 years equals 1798. Laodicea utilizes a false construct with 1798, the wrong time frame, considering the fact that Revelation 17 states that the woman rides over a beast with 7 heads and 10 horns without crowns, whereas Revelation 13 presents a different symbolic concept of 7 heads, 10 horns, and 10 crowns on the horns scenario. This latter-day scenario presents a scenario of 10 kings or global reigns, just as it is stated in Zechariah 23. 10 men from different tongues, languages. Returning to Revelation 17, this 10-king contemporaneous unity, God said, lasts for 1 hour with the beast. Whether literal or 2-week period, we don't know for sure. What we do know, Revelation 13 states that 1260 days or 3.5 literal years transpire from the fatal wound to its healing. And when this time frame is completed, after the healing of the deadly wound, we then see the rise of the two-horned beast, along with the imposition of the mark of the beast during the 30-day period, immediately after the expiration of the 3 and a half years. It will last one literal month. Let's do the math. 1260 plus 30 equals 1290. It appears that America will capitulate, and by way of the activities of the miracle-working false prophet, he will enforce the mark of the beast. He will enforce the global Shema of Deuteronomy 6:4 and 8 on the forehead and right hand. Yep, it's already in the drawer of the Resolute desk. In other words, it compromised First Amendment with a religious law. The grasping hands across the gulf to spiritualism will have nothing to do with the Catholic Church in end events, since Vatican City will have been destroyed prior to all of this during the time frame of the fatal wound. Revelation 18 states the following, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come forth, my people, out of her, that ye have no fellowship with her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues, for her sins have reached even unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Render unto her even as she rendered, and double unto her double, according to her works. In the cup which she mingled, mingle unto her double. How much soever she glorified herself and waxed wanton, so much give her of torment and mourning. For she said in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall in no wise see mourning. Therefore in one day shall her plagues come, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. It is basically the same event as Revelation 17:12-16. And the 10 horns that thou sawest are 10 kings who have received no kingdom as yet, but they receive authority as kings with the beast for 1 hour. These have one mind, and they give their authority, their power, and their authority unto the beast. These shall war against the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they are also overcome that are with him, called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the harlot sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns that thou sawest are 10 kings, who have received no kingdom as yet. They receive authority as kings with the beast for 1 hour. These have one mind, and they give their power and authority unto the beast. These shall war against the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they also shall overcome that are with him, called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the harlot sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest, and the beast, these shall hate the harlot, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and shall burn her utterly with fire. Protestantism already teaches the errors of soul immortality and Sunday observance, right? So there was never any clasping hands across the gulf by Protestantism. Why? Protestantism already teaches the errors of soul immortality and Sunday observance. So there was never any clasping hands across the gulf, right? Protestantism has always retained the original errors of spiritualism within the Mother Church, as well as the Trinity doctrine and the Eternal Son doctrine, which are now present in Laodicea. And Laodicea joins hands of the spiritual unity with the Alpha and Omega of deadly heresies, which has been present in Laodicea's official fundamental belief since 1980. Mr. White, 1885, quotes Roman power. There are other quotes by Sister White with similar words, such as hands across the gulf, exist and include the National Sunday Law adjustments. But this 1885 quote got it right for the 7 Noahide laws, the law of Isaiah 2:3, when read correctly. Okay, it's time to read the 1885 quote correctly. When Protestantism shall stretch her hand across the gulf to grasp the hand of the Roman power, when she shall reach over the abyss to clasp hands with spiritualism, when under the influence of this threefold union our country shall repudiate every principle of its constitution as a Protestant and Republican government, and shall make provision for the propagation of papal falsehoods and delusions, then we may know that the time has come for the marvelous working of Satan, and that the end is near. National Sunday Law is omitted because of the 10 kings of Revelation 17. Roman power, last Roman emperor. The land of the second beast, Revelation 13, is under the Roman power by way of Beni Ephraim, as a presently unknown individual who will fight the wars against the king of the south, leading to his demise in Daniel 11:45, between the seas and the glorious holy mountain. So who is this individual? We shall soon see, and it will be an amazing surprise for many. See Revelation 17. And they are 7 kings. The 5 are fallen, the one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short while, a little while. It's the highlighted, the not yet come, is the one who will be the 7th. Soon all will see who he is. YouTube presents various videos on the great monarch as well as the Catholic historical sources that point to this individual. The majority are based on Catholic seers, yet this information, unknown to many, is present in the latter part of Revelation 17:10, with the beast being the 8th king after the demise of the 7th. See Revelation 17:11. Final notes. It is highly probable that Protestantism would extend the hand of fellowship to Catholicism if a European leader, which the Bible presents as the 7th Scarlet King, would arise, especially if he were to introduce a new Reformation. Yet what is lacking is that Mr. White stated that spiritualism is the key that unites both Catholicism and Protestantism. But the problem is that the 7th king of Revelation 17:10, while most probably being an undercover Luciferian, might not admit to this. And why? Because prophetically speaking, the 7th king is still scarlet and ridden by the woman. It is only when the woman is finally repudiated by the beast and his associates, meaning the 10 horns, 10 kings, that this event will mark the transfer into the Luciferian age of Revelation 13. The other problem with that, what Sister White stated, that spiritualism is the key that unites both Catholicism and Protestantism, equals National Sunday Law. Well, the National Sunday Law concept today is a complete furphy. Why? The fact is Protestantism propagates Papa Pointy Hat falsehoods via oikomene, the baptism, Eucharist, and ministry. Lima text equals blueprint for unity of the churches, and that blueprint survives for unity on one thing. Yes, the omega of deadly heresies, in the triune Trinity and God eternal Son doctrines, and they are officially Laodicea's fundamental beliefs 2 and 4. So ask yourself, just exactly who grasped hands with Papa Pointy Hat, with Protestantism and spiritualism, with the mutual recognition of the Trinity and the God, the eternal Son doctrines? The Alpha and the Omega of deadly heresies? Answer, yes, you got it correct. None other than Laodicea. Sister White said would be received. The Omega of heresies sits untainted. The printer's ink is as fresh today as the year of 1980, and 27 fundamental beliefs 2, 4, and 5 it went into print, and this is spiritualism, the Alpha and the Omega of deadly heresies. Surely you are now a little clearer why Sister White trembled. In other words, the evolving concept of the Roman power has supernaturally stolen a march on Laodicea, and the Alpha and Omega of deadly heresies is the spiritualism, and then few even recognize the deception of spiritualism was so massive, Sister White said, would be received, and she trembled. Yes, rightly so. So what is the big problem for Laodicea and those who remain? Better pay attention. In the context of Revelation 7, there could be no seal of God in the sealing time of those specified in Revelation 14, 1-5. Let that sink in when you do your own homework and reread 3T 267 and 5T 200 to 210. If you choose to pass it by, sleep on till midnight. And for those who endlessly speak about the love of God, how do they explain why Sister White said are to be cut down in the general slaughter of Ezekiel 9? Was that because there was no sealing in the sealing time of Revelation 7? It's what she said in 3T 267, right? Read it for yourselves. Very few understand Revelation 7 and its purpose, let alone how the divine golden threads of eternal righteousness by faith, the key of David, of Christ, the true Alpha and Omega, in the Apocalypse are all related. The first angel's warning of Revelation 14. Serious as serious gets. Then that great mart of nations is presented in Revelation 18 with the woman controlling all of this financial activity, and its demise, as seen on the Mediterranean Sea, will mark the end of the so-called Christian era and the commencement of the Luciferian era, as shown in Revelation 13, which presents the fatal wound of one of the heads of the beast, and then the healing of the fatal wound, which culminates in the worship of Satan alongside the beast. Satan was never officially worshipped prior to this event. That will be the real deal of extending hands across the gulf in reference to the Roman power, as presented in Daniel 7, and yes, by Sister White in 1885. The fourth beast, the Roman Empire, swallows up the world and expands it into 10 global regions. The terrible fourth beast, as presented in Daniel 7, equals the Luciferian age and described uniquely by Sister White in 1885. The fourth beast equals yet is scenario, the Roman Empire. Swallows up the world and expands it into 10 global regions, equals 10 kings, equals Zechariah 8:23, Revelation 17, Revelation 13. The beast that was, is not, and yet is, equals the pagan Roman power, was, the scarlet beast, Revelation 17, is not, the fourth beast of Daniel 7, equals yet is, diverse king, Daniel 7:24, grasp dark sentences, Daniel 8:23 and 25, Luciferian age, Revelation 13 of 8th king, Roman power, third phase, uniquely defined by Sister White in 1885. 17:8, the beast that thou sawest was, is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. When Protestantism shall stretch her hand across the gulf to grasp the hand of Rome, the Roman power, equals yet is, when she shall reach over the abyss to clasp hands of spiritualism, yet is, time frame. That time is come for the marvelous working of Satan, and that the end is near. Daniel 7, thus he said, the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all the kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and shall break it in pieces.